Oh, man, college football does not disappoint. MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, as we wind down the noon Eastern time window with a ton of huge matchups. As I mentioned several times this week, for some reason, the noon window has been the best of all the windows. The noon games has been the best collection of games, the best matchups, better than 3:30, better than prime time so far this college football season. And we've got the most significant matchups, the most interesting games, the most interesting and intriguing finishes and outcomes right now. We've got all sorts of good stuff going on right now here at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. We appreciate you joining in. I will run down your comments and your questions in the live chat. We'll also run down the scores and see where we stand right now. I keep moving this back. 3 o'clock Eastern time used to take us to a point in which we could join most of the games with about 3 or 4 minutes left in the game, catch the last drive or two together. So that's been the aim. And then we joined way too early the last couple of weeks. So I've moved it back to 3:15 Eastern time. And there's still like 9 minutes left in this Michigan-Indiana game. Arizona State, though, pulling off the upset at the Coliseum against USC. Let's get to the scores right now and see where we stand. So Michigan has the ball, down 17, just about 8 minutes to play. Michigan out to the Indiana 40-yard line, or its own 40-yard line. SMU has a win in the bag against Temple, 47-23. Arizona State, my upset pick of the day, along with a few others that have turned out very nicely at this point. Arizona State, 11-point dog at the Coliseum. I took Arizona State to win. And right now, Arizona State has just turned over the ball to USC, but the Trojans have it at their own 20. ASU up 27-14 with under 4.5 to play. Tight game in Austin and huge game in the Big 12. Texas leads West Virginia 17-13. It started off as a shootout as both teams scored a touchdown on their initial possessions, and it's been a defensive struggle surprisingly since then. Longhorns lead it by 4. They've got the ball, and there's about 10 minutes left, so plenty of time there. Intrigue in Blacksburg. Liberty, Virginia Tech, the Hokies, a big 17-point favorite. 35 all, just seconds to play. Liberty's got the ball at the Virginia Tech 41, 4th and 6. I would have to flip to that game to see what's going to happen, whether Liberty's going to have a chance to win the game in regulation or if they're going to have to wait till overtime. But very interesting, as Liberty may be able to somewhat substantiate their schedule, which has been one of the worst in college football, with a win over a decent opponent, 35 all, as we could possibly be heading toward overtime. Not only does Michigan look bad on the field and on the scoreboard in its games, but subsequent games in the Big Ten seem to be substantiating Michigan's downfall. So not only does Michigan lose last week to Michigan State, then Michigan State goes out and gets pounded by Iowa. Last count I had was 35-0. And of course, Michigan State had already lost to Rutgers. And then Minnesota, the team that Michigan beat in week 1, goes to Maryland, a team that had lost 43-3 to Northwestern, and Minnesota loses to Maryland. All right. So again, Michigan with the ball. They've got a first down. They're down 17. We will do instant analysis on Michigan, Indiana. We will have a video coming your way on USC and Arizona State as well. So stay tuned for those videos that will be posted not long after we get off here. We want to take you to the 3:30 kickoffs, which are typically right around 3:40. Let's get to some comments and remind everyone to do your Amazon shopping using the link in the description section below. So I know you're going to be shopping Amazon, many of you. Please use the link. Help us build the channel. All right. Who's on the line? Bo, good to see you right out of the gate. John Sarian as well. Yeah, Michigan looks awful. Fire up the Harbaugh talk. We will be talking Jim Harbaugh, I'm sure, this week. Is he going to get fired? No. I would be shocked I'm rarely shocked by anything, but I would be slightly shocked. We'll put it in the slightly, if there is such a thing, to be slightly shocked if Jim Harbaugh's fired. His 2021 season is going to be his hot seat year. Ballard, good to see you as well, of course. A dog named Brutus. Buckeyes take on Rutgers as a 39-point favorite. And it looks like Michigan's turned the ball over. Was that a fumble or was that a pass? It looks like a fumble. IU has forced a fumble on Joe Milton. Mullen makes the recovery for IU. We're under 6 minutes. Indiana with the ball in a 17-point lead. It looks like Indiana is not only going to beat Michigan for the first time since 1987, but will have a shot to beat Michigan and Ohio State for the first time since 87. The corner blitz, oh my goodness, yes. Milton should have seen him coming, did not. It was from the right side, and Michigan in a world of hurt right now. Indiana with the ball up 17. Let's get to I don't even know if the game's on. Is the Virginia Tech Liberty game on? Oh, well. Let's see. We've got Hip Hop R&B Lover. Good to see you, John. Clay needs to be fired after this game. Complete disgrace. Well, I don't know if it's a complete disgrace. You played a good football team. I knew that this would be an even matchup. But Arizona State has simply outplayed USC. The defensive performance by the Sun Devils, led by, of course, their co-defensive coordinators, Marvin Lewis and Antonio Pierce. The play of guys like Merlin Robertson and Jack Jones, of course, a transfer from USC, has been remarkable against that offense. That's why, despite having the playmakers, the quarterback, people ignore and don't always take into account the offensive line. But the offensive line, I say it all the time, is the most important unit on the field. Fire up the Urban Meyer to USC talk. Urban Meyer to USC, Urban Meyer to Texas. I can't imagine him going anywhere besides those two schools. And I really think that that's just fun fodder for all of us in the media and so forth. David, good to see you. Jim Lee, Indiana Big Ten champion. I don't think this gives them the Big Ten championship quite yet. I believe they're in the driver's seat with this win, Jim. Unless we're making a prediction there. Maybe Jim is making a prophetic statement here. Indiana to win the Big Ten championship. Francis tells us Michigan is so weak, it's laughable. This team has some real issues. The defensive line isn't nearly as good as advertised, even though having all those names up front, those guys are all going to play in the NFL. Aiden Hutchinson, Kwity Paye. They must have jumped off sides, it seemed like 17 times in the first half alone. I don't know what the issue was. They kept jumping off sides. And one of the more disturbing sights that I saw was after about the umpteenth jump off sides that gave Indiana first down. I believe it was Kwity Paye. I don't want to accuse the wrong individual, but they all did it a number of times. So one of them walked to the sideline, and Jim Harbaugh just kind of gave him a little pat on the back. Like, you know, sometimes these players do need a little pat on the back, some encouragement. But I didn't necessarily judge that as being the time and place for that. It seemed like you've screwed this up 50 times. Why are you guys jumping off sides? Watch the ball. Kick in the rear time. Mickey B. Harbaugh is an excellent coach, better suited for the NFL. Well, it appears so, although he certainly did a remarkable job at Stanford. Resurrected that program, and David Shaw has benefited ever since. Jim, again, adamant about Indiana winning the Big Ten. They're certainly better than Michigan, 38-21. Michigan's got the better recruited talent, but athletically, you can't really distinguish these two teams, and Indiana's so much more in sync and confident. Michigan is not doing really anything well at this point. They're not pass protecting well. It's not awful. The run blocking is awful. They have no semblance of a running game from the running back position. No pass rush. The secondary we already knew was atrocious. Milton just got picked. That was the desperation pass, of course, on 3rd and 25. So I understand him. That's an understandable throw under those circumstances. So Indiana, this is in the bag now. 5 minutes left, up 17 with the ball. Indiana beats Michigan. And who knows where they're going to go in the top 25. That actually makes sense. Jordan, good to see you. Joe Milton threw probably the worst pass of the year. I don't know if I saw that. I know that he blew one down the middle to Ronnie Bell. Ronnie Bell was streaking wide open. I don't mean the receiver being open, beating the defensive back. I mean, nobody picked him up to begin with. He's running just in the middle of the field, about 35 to 40 yards down the field, and Joe Milton threw a rocket when he should have just tossed it up and simply blew that play. Milton is not the issue with this Michigan football team, and that's not defending Joe Milton is playing lights out by any stretch, but this is his 3rd start in big-time college football. Joe Milton, when I do the analysis of this game, will be the last component of this team that I will pick on. It starts with the coaches, goes to the secondary, goes to the offensive line, goes to the running backs, goes to the wide receivers, goes to the defensive line. All of those units are underperforming for Michigan. Hopefully you guys picked up on my predictions from the noon Eastern time games. I did pick Indiana, took the 3.5 points, but also picked them straight up to win. Temple let me down late. I had Temple in 17.5, and they got obliterated by 24. So I did miss that one. I've got West Virginia in 5.5 with Texas winning the game. I took Arizona State to not only cover, but I took Arizona State straight up as well. We took North Carolina to cover against Duke, 11.5 points, and they're up by 32 right now. And I also took Northwestern in the 3.5 points and them to win outright, and I believe they're up by 8 right now. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line? Hey, David. I'm doing well. What's up?
Excellent. Well, I watched the demise of Michigan football today, or Jim Harbaugh's last days, as I like to put it, up there, but not looking good.
No.
I put this in the chat. I don't understand how he kept Don Brown as his defensive coordinator. Did you ever talk to any of the Michigan people that you talked to? Have they ever said, would he ever even think about changing his defensive coordinator?
Well, up until this year, you typically don't fire a defensive coordinator who's fielding top 5 defenses in the country. I understand what you're saying in big games, but they're posting top 5 defenses in the country year after year after year after year. Now, this is right. They're not going to this year because everybody's torching them. Well, at least the last 2 teams have torched them. They didn't give up that much against Minnesota, but they've had number 1, number 2 ranked defenses under Don Brown.
Right, but I watch his, and he's so committed to playing press man coverage against teams that have good receivers and always seem to, make plays. Every defensive coordinator you ever hear says we need to switch things up. We need to play a little bit of zone. We need to play a little bit of man. We need to play maybe some Tampa 2, play some off coverage. Any coach with their defensive salt always says that. I mean, I've been watching football for a long period of time. You've been watching football for a long period of time. Haven't you heard that? Defensive coordinators in the past?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that you have your bread and butter, your base, what you do well, but these quarterbacks are so well prepared, and the ability of these wide receivers now to adjust their routes, and they read situations between quarterback and running back. It's not back in the day of you've got a set pattern, you've got a set pattern, you've got a set pattern. They're constantly looking at coverages. And yes, you have to mix it up. You need to confuse the quarterback. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I just thought that, after the drubbings, because, from an Ohio State perspective, I mean, we made changes to our defensive staff when we had problems with our defenses in the past. And, that helped change things and improve our defenses. So, I don't know. I mean, one would think that, if you're kind of underachieving, especially in the big games defensively, that, maybe it's time to make some changes. But, he keeps on sticking to it. And as I mentioned in the live chat, I would not be surprised with our quarterback and our receivers that we drop 70 on it this year. At least maybe, 60, with as weak as their pass defense is.
Yeah. I hear you.
Have you watched much of this USC? By the way, USC's got a shotgun, Mark. I don't know if you got that game on.
Oh, I'm going to flip to it right now if I can from here.
Yeah, look at. By the way, I just have to say real quick. I don't know if you asked this to your Ohio State people, but and I watched this running back play in high school. Arizona State's got a running back out of Akron Hoban named Tranum.
Oh yeah,
who was a four-star recruit. I'll tell you what, as a Buckeye fan, he looks a little bit better than Teague or Trey Sermon. I'll say that much. I don't know why the Buckeyes didn't go after him. I don't know if Gerdeman or Hellwagon or New never mentioned anything about that. But did you hear anything?
I've talked about it, but not talked to them about it.
What did you have to say about it, Mark?
Well, just that I've heard that he's a really good back, but obviously nobody's seen him play at this level. So I couldn't give any kind of a report necessarily, having never seen the kid play. I'm not watching high school tape on guys.
Yeah, no, I hear
So
you.
I talked to the Arizona beat writer from the Arizona Republic just the other day, had her on, and we talked about it. And we talked about it maybe 3 or 4 times. Just the fact that they were able to get a top level running back out of Ohio.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, I go to some of the area high school games. I've seen a fair amount of Buckeyes play in the past, but it looks pretty good though. It looks like he could have been a good back. Looks like he's going to be a good back here. Well, yeah, USC's got a shot here.
Yeah, they do.
20. Absolutely.
This should be good. I don't know what happened to get them back in the ball game, but Arizona State had the ball and 13-point lead. But anyway, so yeah, they're down to the 15.
I can tell you a little bit, Mark. I can help you out. But they threw a long touchdown. The ball got tipped up in the air, and USC caught a touchdown to catch it 27-21, and then they recovered an onside kick.
Okay.
So over 2 minutes left.
So USC's right tackle just jumped, which is going to back them up to a 4th and 9. So this is the play of the game. They should do it one way or the other. $1:26 left, 4th and 9. That
Mark,
penalty hurts. Yep.
And Mark, did Steve Merrill take this on his picks yesterday on your show? I think he took USC, didn't he?
I don't know that what he does is he gives us the 3 games, the 3 national games. I don't know that he commits to that because he's obviously trying to get people over. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he typically doesn't commit. He just gives a lot of information.
Here we go.
And there you go.
Oh, we got it. Wow.
Beautiful. Drake London. No, he was a great recruit, and he's had a big game in this game. The time that I've been able to watch, at least. So yeah, this is sweet.
They did give Arizona State a minute left, though.
Sure. Yep.
You have a shot. All right. Hey, are you running the live stream tonight, Mark?
We certainly are. After all the primetime games.
Okay. Yeah, some good stuff. I saw you picked Florida over Georgia, huh?
I did. But again, if you read my disclaimer, I don't know that I gave it 2 seconds of thought, but I thought I'd take those points.
Hey, I pay attention to the Mark Rogers predictions. I'm not putting money on the Mark Rogers predictions because,
Well,
I got to pay rent here.
Well, yeah. Unfortunately, people are getting on board way too late. Somebody needs to go through and look through all the videos are time stamped for the last 10 years. So I can certainly justify that I would have made a lot of people a lot of money, and I've been credited as doing so. But certainly, this is not the year. This is not the year thus far. That's for sure. But yeah, I don't put a whole lot of time into it. Those get picked in about 45 seconds.
Right.
Yeah, that was a nice play.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Nothing. David, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, hopefully it's a good one. I think Trask caused that defense some problems, and I know Georgia's without some players. I just heard today they're going to be without their best receiver, too, Georgia. Pickens is going to be out.
Yeah, if he's the best receiver. He's the most talented one, that's for sure. I don't know that he's the best one. He's a bit of a head case, and he hasn't produced much of anything but about 100 yards in 5 games.
Well, we'll see about that Georgia quarterback situation today, too, and how Bennett looks, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah. Yep. All right, David.
Friend, I will get back with you later tonight.
Appreciate it. Talk to you later.
Take care, Mark. Bye-bye.
All right, so we got USC with a 1-point lead, 1:20 left. So everybody who wants to fire Clay Helton, man, it's usually called Overreaction Monday or Overreaction Sunday. We have Overreaction third quarter. Iowa over Michigan State, 49-7. I thought that was going to be a decent game. I DVR'd it. I DVR about 15 games per window. I usually have like 25 games DVR'd by the end of the day. Yeah, Michael Penix crushing Michigan right now. Is it possible Michigan, USC, and Texas are looking for new coaches next year? Certainly Texas would be in the best shape of those three. They're in the hunt for the Big 12. I don't know what's going on with that game. I think we're down to about 90 seconds left to play, and it looks like Texas is in decent shape. Again, too many good games to keep track of at the same time. I hate that. And then at 3:30, it's Georgia, Florida. And then is there really any other game worth watching? Oklahoma State and Kansas State at 4. That's a big game. It's a really big game. All right, so Texas has the ball at its own 24, 2:18 left. Okay. All right, Jaden Daniels. Looks like he missed his man at the 50. No, they got a completion right at the 50. 102. They only have to kick a field goal. So depending on how good their field goal kicker is, let's check this guy out. Let's check out Arizona State's field goal kicker, if I can get my 10-year-old laptop to work here. Oh, my word. Here we go. I want to see how good this ASU kicker is. But like most of the programs in America, he probably is a first-time kicker. We'll see. I don't remember their kicker from last year. They're posting a stat right now that I find intriguing that I knew already, is that Jaden Daniels, as a true freshman, posted as many game-winning drives as anybody in the country, meaning fourth quarter drives trailing that secured a win. All right. The Arizona State kicker. Christian Zendejas. Oh, yeah. You all know the Zendejas brothers, the flying Zendejases. So Christian. All right. Arizona State's in good shape here. They've got a field goal kicker in Christian Zendejas, who was 23 of 27 last year, 85+%. His long was only 43, but still very dependable at 23 of 27. 0 for 1 from 50 plus 5 of 7 from 40 to 49 yards. So Arizona State, if they get it to the 30, are in pretty good shape, would have about a 75% chance of winning this game. Let's see what happened here. They've got a review on the sideline, and it looked like he caught the ball out of bounds. Dependent Fanatic, by Harbaugh. No extension for you. Milton will be better next year. I don't think Milton is great, but he's only played 3 games. So I'm going to give him some space, some room. But he's good enough to win. He's good enough to win games if he had support. John says Liberty takes Virginia Tech to overtime. Hard to dispute. The ACC is the worst conference. It's not really that hard to dispute. It's hard to determine that any conference is better than any other this year. They're not playing games against each other. That's one game. That's Liberty taking down the what team in the ACC? The 5th best team, the 7th best team, the 8th best team, something like that. So don't know that that's huge evidence. It's not good for the ACC, but it's not damning. Yeah, the only thing we know about the ACC is that Virginia Tech is losing to Liberty and has possibly lost that game now. Georgia Tech lost to UCF, but Georgia Tech's maybe the 11th or 12th best team in the conference, or 2nd or 3rd worst. Actually, the Big 12 has the worst non-conference resume, losing those games to the Sun Belt and being taken to the hilt by something called Houston Baptist. So I would give the nod to the ACC over the Big 12 right now for 2 reasons. Clemson, that's a huge factor. Clemson's so much better than anybody in the Big 12. And number 2, Notre Dame being temporarily in the ACC. I would rank them right now, the SEC, the Big 10, no questions asked, no question. We can discuss it, but why? Number 3, ACC. Number 4, Big 12. Number 5, Pac-12. My point is, John, we have no idea how good these conferences are this year. They don't play each other. Nobody's playing anybody. And we'll have some bowl games, and then we can talk about it in the off season, and then we'll break it all down. Matt says Liberty makes a 50-yard field goal to go up. 1 second left on the clock for the kickoff, and they must have won the game. Y'all remember when Joe Milton was Cam Newton Jr.? Yeah. Well, Cam Newton's one of the greatest collegiate quarterbacks in history. Not NFL quarterbacks, collegiate quarterbacks in history. So let's take it easy on Joe Milton. I have no issues with Joe Milton. None. Why is Arizona State throwing the ball that deep? All right. John, my screen says end of regulation on Virginia Tech. Roger. Hi, Mark. Another Michigan poor performance. Yes, in spades. Awful performance all across the board, except for Milton, who was okay, not great. Don't look at the stat line. I know he was 4 of 13 at one point. A lot of dropped passes. But I can't think of anybody on the Michigan team. Now, there were individuals. Ronnie Bell had a nice game. But in terms of units, Arizona State, boy, is lost right now. They are just giving USC gifts. That was a complete miscommunication. He was obviously, Jaden Daniels, expecting the back shoulder. All right. Herm Edwards calls timeout. 4th and 10, 55 seconds left. They need about 25 yards. Not on this play, but total. Roberto, Indiana, Ohio State, a top 10 matchup in 2 weeks. Question mark. Nicholas, touting Liberty. Urban will be at Texas or USC next year, according to Matthew Miller. That would be a great story. David, Indiana's second best team in the Big Ten East. I don't know if they're the second best team, but based on the result against Penn State, looking at the results, yes. I still think Penn State's probably better. Hey, Mark, You can just call me John. That's fine. Well, I that's the first time I've ever read off the entire name there, and typically people go by whatever names there. And especially I want to give recognition to your love of hip hop and R&B. So Liberty has defeated the ACC's Virginia Tech Hokies. Navy Thomas giving us an update on the Big Ten standings. Here we go. 4th and 10. Jaden Daniels did not catch the ball. Did not catch the ball. USC should be in great shape. Nobody has timeouts left, do they? No, 50 seconds left. Ball game. USC wins. So my upset pick goes by the wayside, but I took Arizona State and the 11 points, so I'm good with that. And yeah, that was just a poor throw. That was a really poor throw. That was a clear one hopper. Jordan, remember when Virginia Tech, UNC, NC State, and Pitt were all ranked? Yeah, me too. Yeah, when nobody else was playing, when the half the country was on the sideline. Roberto, 2 years ago, people laughed when Urban Meyer leaving and say he'll lie and coach again. Now teams, fan bases want him to coach again. Media can be so laughable and annoying. Yes. Well, the media is always going to gravitate, whether it's news or sports, is always going to gravitate to discussion points that will rile people up. The media, journalism is dead, Roberto. There are few journalists out there. Journalism is basically dead, and it's all about creating a debate. That's all any of this is about now. A dog named Brutus, ACC really Liberty. David, Harbaugh should have fired Don Brown. We discussed that. Jordan says Destin Fuente should lose his job, underperformance after underperformance. They do lose to a lot of unranked teams, does Virginia Tech. I heard a statistic under Justin Fuente. I believe that they had lost to 7 unranked teams. We see that USC won its first time after trailing by 13 plus points in the fourth quarter since that historic and very entertaining Rose Bowl against Saquon Barkley and Trace McSorley, 52-49 in that one. Oh, it is 3:50. Let's get off here. We got Georgia, Florida rolling, and we certainly want to wrap up this USC-Arizona State game. We'll get you instant analysis on that game as well as Michigan, Indiana. We will see you after the primetime games at roughly 11 o'clock Eastern. Appreciate it.